exciting because it is the first official snow that we have had all year here in Minnesota. It is Halloween, October 31st, and I'm very impromptu, impulsively filming this video because I was sitting in my office enjoying my very late morning cup of coffee in my Halloween mug and going through emails and just getting some work done, and I was looking outside at this beautiful snowfall thinking this would be the perfect vibe to talk about the, I think, 11-ish books that I read in October on the last day of October. I've never been this quick with filming a monthly reading wrap up and getting it posted, but I told you I would catch up, and I have finally caught up. So in October, I have read sort of 11 books, although I'm halfway through one of them. I just started 2 of them, and 2 of them I finished in October but didn't start, so technically I think I read like 6 full books and then bits and pieces of other books, but this is the list. If you're new, I make a ton of book content here on my channel, but also over on my Bookstagram account as well as my TikTok, so if you're into either of those book social media platforms, please go follow them. I also have a Goodreads if you're into that, and then I have all of these books and much more categorized on my Amazon storefront, so definitely check that out because honestly, when I add books to my Amazon storefront, I notice the prices are so much better than I expected, like $8, $9, sometimes $6 for a book, so I don't blame you if you want to order a book off of Amazon. And speaking of ordering books, I never plug this enough. I have to get better at that. I sell blind dates with the book. This is an example of a book box, meaning if you order the 3-book bundle, you'll get incense and hair accessories and a face mask. There's like different tiers, so if you do the book bundle where there's 2 books, I believe you get the incense and the hair things but not the face mask. And then if you just order one singular book, you get 3 bookmarks. You get a matching bookmark that I made that matches your wrapping paper. You get another bookmark with a ribbon, magnetic bookmark, an annotation highlighter. You get annotation tabs. You get a reading list, which is also a bookmark, I guess. Oh, you also get tea in one of the bundles. Not this order, I'm sorry. Sometimes I do throw in extra goodies though, depending on my inventory. Like I just had an order for a book box. I felt bad because there was a complication before the order, but we managed to figure it out. So when she placed her new order, I threw in like 2 extra face masks, some accessories. Sometimes I'll have random items that I get gifted through PR that I'm not going to use, so I just throw them into orders. So sometimes I will throw in some extra goodies, but there's like a ton of little book stickers as well. And of course, a new book. You can write like genre preferences or add your Goodreads and place your order, but these are available on my Etsy shop, Moonlit Vintage, so that's always linked if you want to check it out. I'll also hook you up with the discount code, so if you plug this in on your order, you'll get a nice discount. But yeah, go support my small business. I have so many books that I have sourced and purchased for my blind dates with a book, and they are taking up a lot of space in my office. I also spent hundreds of dollars on all of those little accessories and wrapping paper and bookmarks. Some days my inventory just haunts me. Speaking of spooky stuff, I'm haunted by all of the inventory that I have, and I would love to get some more orders sent out. So if you'd like a blind date with the book, please consider purchasing one from my small business. I think those are all of the updates I wanted to include in this video because I know it's going to be ranty, so hopefully you're here for the books. Let's jump into all of the books that I've read and talk about it because oh my gosh, I've read so many cool books this month. I read my first graphic novel since like 7th grade. I've got a couple of cowboy romances, a couple of thrillers, a dark romance. I'd say maybe like 2 palette cleansers, darker thrillers. Yeah, we got some good stuff in here, so let's get right on into it. For the first time ever, we are not going to do this in chronological order. I mean, we will for a little bit, but some of these books I felt the need to organize. Yeah, I don't know, it just makes sense in my head. Also, Marnie has entered the chat, so she is up on the desk causing mayhem. We'll probably knock everything over if I'm not careful, so don't mind my cute little black cat who is totally thriving in her season. Let's start with the 2 books that I technically started in September but finished in October. One of them was a dark romance book, Her Soul for Revenge. This is the 2nd book in the Her Soul to Take trilogy. I'm not sure what the trilogy is actually called. Is it the Her Souls trilogy? It's just the Souls trilogy. Here's the thing. This series started out not that serious to me. I found the first book in a little free library, decided to give it a try, ended up really liking it for some reason, and the second book got even better. I really enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to pick up the third and final book in this trilogy. But this one follows Zane and Juniper, and I really liked Juniper. She had so much spunk and fierceness. I feel like Harley LaRue definitely took like everything from her first book and made it even better, so this was super enjoyable. Now, this is a dark romance book. Do with that information as you will. It's not that serious. It's fun. This is perfect for spooky season. It takes place in October, and a lot of the plot reminds me of Forks and Twilight. I feel like Harley LaRue definitely took some inspiration from Twilight. I'm pretty sure they even mentioned that on their Instagram at some point, or like, I don't know, I feel like I'm a little too overexposed suddenly. If you liked the Vampire Diaries, Pretty Little Liars, or even Twilight, but want a spicy twist, I would highly recommend trying the Souls trilogy. It's spicy, there's demons involved, there's a coven, there's witches, there's magic, but it's fun, and I really like these books. So this was perfect to read in October. And then the second book that I finished in October was a book club book. I started a new book club this month, and we read Too Late by Colleen Hoover, which is her only other thriller besides Verity, I believe, and it was good. It was really different than what I was expecting based on the cover and the back. You know, you never really know what you're getting with Coho books, but it was fun. It was kind of like a 21 Jump Street plot. Basically, these cops are undercover living in a college house because they have to bust a drug deal or situation. And of course, while this guy is undercover, he falls in love with the girl that lives in this house. She's technically part of the people that they're here to take over. You go through, I believe, 3 different POVs, and some of like the internal dialogue was so serious that it was comical. Like, I can't explain it, but like Colleen Hoover has to like know that she was being funny, right? Like, it's not meant to be funny, but I like was laughing by some of the stuff in here. What's really interesting too is I never knew that this book wasn't meant to be published. She talks about it at the beginning. This book was like her escape when she was writing fluffy romance, when she wanted to write something dark. And then I think she posted it online somewhere, and the people that read it were like, please publish this. So she traditionally published it, but this was supposed to be like her outlet. It's definitely darker than her other books, but it was still enjoyable. I also read another Freida McFadden book this month. I read Never Lie, and this was so fun. It's about this couple that go and visit the manor of a recently missing psychiatrist. She just disappeared and nobody knows where she went, and now her house is for sale, and they go look at her house and they get stuck there because of a snowstorm. So they have to like sleep over in this house, and they find food. Of course, there's like secret passages, and the main like wife protagonist of this couple, she comes across these audio tapes from the psychiatrist sessions. So she starts listening to these tapes, and the mystery unravels as to what happened to the psychiatrist and who her patients were. And it was a very well done Freida McFadden thriller. I kind of explain how I feel about Freida McFadden in my, I believe it was my October TBR video, but to me, Freida McFadden is like the thriller Colleen Hoover. And what I mean by that is they're both really easy to get into if you're in a reading slump. Like, you know, you can get into these books. They're pretty quickly paced. You can finish them quickly. I consider her kind of like a thriller palette cleanser. I feel like I probably just explained it better in that other video, but yeah, I kind of see her books as kind of like Lifetime movies, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, sometimes you just really want to watch a Lifetime movie because they're dramatic and full of twists and entertaining, and that's exactly how I feel about her books. But they're great. So I believe I rated Never Lie 4 stars. But yeah, great thrillers. I read that so quickly. Speaking of thrillers, I also read Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins this month. I loved this book. I ate this up. I love Rachel Hawkins thrillers so much. In my opinion, I feel like Rachel Hawkins books are a genre of their own. They're so gripping in a non-terrifying way. Like, it's not like a Riley Sager thriller where you're sometimes scared to read it at night. It's not like a Stephen King. Again, I feel like I explained this a lot better over on my Goodreads review of this book, but Let me just start by telling you the plot. Basically, it's about 6 people that end up stranded on an island together, and the island has some pretty dark history attached to it. They discover some of the history while on the island, and with every good stranded on an island story, people start to lose their minds and turn on each other. Secrets come out. This book is definitely like an island gothic mystery, which how many of those can you really find out there? And that's how I feel about Rachel Hawkins' books in general, is they all feel like a genre of their own. She always includes some sort of homage to like a classic piece of literary culture. So this book is heavily influenced by Agatha Christie, but her other books are influenced, like The Wife Upstairs is a retelling of Jane Eyre, and The Villa is inspired by Frankenstein and Mary Shelley and Percy Shelley when they stayed at, I think it was the Geneva Castle. But I love how she always honors like classic literature, because I am such a classic literature like geek at my core. Like before I really got into all of these like new recent fun release nice like fiction books, I was only reading like classics and nonfiction and self-improvement and like all these boring books. They're fun and like educational, and I saw one of my book friends on TikTok described it really well. She has like a 5-course meal versus potato chip books, and a 5-course meal would be like a very well done piece of literature, where a potato chip book is like a snack. It's like junk food. It's like indulging, you know? Yeah, so before I really started my book talk, bookstagram, booktube journey, I was only reading those types of literature. But I know at my core, that's why I fell in love with literature. That's why I decided to get my English degree and creative writing degree and go into writing and publish and all of that, which I never talk about enough, and that's why I wanted to make a point to talk about it here, because before I started YouTube, that was like my life path and what I was doing, and then I kind of lost that identity, or I stopped sharing it as much. So I just don't want to forget that piece of me, because she's still in here. That's why I think I love Rachel Hawkins so much. But they're easy. Like, sure, her books are not intimidating. It makes a lot of sense, and I feel like a lot of people read it and then feel like it was missing something, but it's because so much of what she writes ends up being implied. She tells you a story, but you almost finish her books wondering, okay, but like, what didn't she tell me? There's so much that is left to your interpretation, but I think it's done super intentionally and very like well crafted in that. So this one was so enjoyable. I could not put it down. You're not meant to like all the characters, and I think that's another thing that people tend to rate her books poorly on. Like The Villa, they're like, oh my god, like so and so sucks, she was such a bad friend. Yeah, she was supposed to be, you know? Like in here, they're not all supposed to be good people either, and that's what makes the plot the plot. I rated this book 5 stars. Chef's kiss, well done, loved it so much. One of her best works. But I still haven't read The Heiress. I think that's the only other Rachel Hawkins book that I haven't read. But speaking of Rachel Hawkins, we can jump around a little bit. I also read the Ex Hex, which if you did not know is written under a pen name, Erin Sterling, but Erin Sterling is Rachel Hawkins. Now, going into this, I had no idea what to expect, because like I just rambled on and on about, I know Rachel Hawkins writing and I love the way that she writes. If you've read the Ex Hex, you could probably assume my jaw was on the floor when Erin Sterling starts talking about spicy stuff between the love interest here, talking about getting it on, getting freaky and doing stuff, and I'm like, Rachel! Like, these books are, there's no spice. Her writing style, like if I didn't know, you wouldn't know. I think that's why having a different name was so important and such a smart idea, because this writing, I can't believe this came from the same brain that this writing did, but that shows her craft and her spectrum of writing and her talent, because this is like a spooky rom-com. Like, it reads differently, it's still really good, but it's like a romance. There's a little bit of tropes in here. I'd say there's like one spicy chili pepper. There's not too much spice, but she definitely says some spicy words that the Rachel Hawkins books would not be saying. But this was really fun to read this time of year. If you haven't read the Ex Hex, it's like a fun, spooky, magical college town. There's this family of witches, and only the other people with magical powers, the witches and warlocks or whatever, in the town know about the other witches. The normal people do not. This one witch accidentally, she thinks she's just messing around, but she accidentally places a curse or a hex on this guy, and then 9 years go by, he's back in town and like wonders why all this bad stuff is happening to him. Oh, it's because she put a curse on you, and they're trying to reverse this curse and fix the town and save the town's magic. I think it was Erin Sterling / Rachel Hawkins herself who said this, but she described it perfectly. She said it's like Hocus Pocus, but they which is so freaking funny to me because it's spot on. It's like Halloween Town Hocus Pocus, because I feel like it's more like Halloween Town when they're trying to save the magic. It was good, it was easy, it was cute. Every single chapter has this cute little black cat. Oh yeah, and their cat in here, I love the cat character. There's a little black cat and a candle up here, so I think that's why it feels like Hocus Pocus. I loved it. It was so fun to read in October personally. Before I forget, I also read a graphic novel this month. I read My Friend Dahmer, and I talked about this book in a couple of different vlogs, but it's written by the classmate of somebody that grew up with Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's told in this fun graphic novel style. Very, very unique perspective that not many people can share. And there is this intro in the beginning that he kind of takes you through like the shock of finding out what this classmate did, because, you know, at the time he was always just this like weird kid in school. You just don't assume that somebody that you view as like a child that you grew up with could grow up and do the terror and horrible things that Jeffrey Dahmer ended up committing as an adult. And I think because of that perspective, Backderf, the author, he tends to have a lot of empathy there that I don't think many other people would have, because you can totally tell that he is still somewhat in shock, and this book was a way for him to process finding out this information. And so I give him grace with that. But in no way does he try to like excuse Jeffrey Dahmer's actions. I felt like I could feel him grieving almost and processing what he found out. Half of this book was basically him, Backderf, I think, trying to find the pivotal like point, you know, when did it change? When did he go from being a kid to this monster? He talks about the research in the back of the book too. He only knows his perspective, so he ended up researching and reaching out to other classmates and teachers and people that could give him more perspective so that he could write a very, very truthful version. I read this in like a day. It'll take you like an hour and a half to get through. It was such a fun graphic novel, dark but not too dark. It only goes up until high school graduation. And then there is this little bonus graphic at the very end after his acknowledgements of where he was when he found out Jeffrey Dahmer was caught. So I think that was also like a moment. But yeah, very, very sad. There were definitely some things in here that I didn't know before, just based on his high school experience. I didn't write this book because it is a true story and it's his version of events, and I really, really felt like I could feel him just trying to process through this. And I think he even says that in the beginning, that this started out as like a therapy project, because I mean that was a really shocking thing to learn, and so he didn't know what to do with all that. He was just trying to put it all together, so he started doing this to help process, and it turned into what it is today. If you enjoy dark true crime or learning about serial killers and their past, highly recommend. If you're looking for a graphic novel to read, also would recommend this book as well. It was a really cool find. Okay, let's jump into the Chestnut Springs series, because I read 3 of the Chestnut Springs books this month, and oh my gosh, I have just been flying through the Chestnut Springs series. I love it so much. It is like my favorite escape mode right now. I want to move there. I wasn't expecting to fall in love with it as much as I did, especially after reading the first book, Flawless, because Flawless was kind of mid for me, but apparently that's really common to think that, and a lot of people encouraged me to keep reading because it gets better, and oh my gosh, were they right, because the second book in the series, which I have heard a lot about, a lot of people said that it was their favorite, was Heartless, and this is at the moment my favorite too. It is so, so good. Whatever Elsie was on when she was writing this book, I'm gonna need her to do that again, because this was crack. It was so good. I love their story. This story follows Cade and Willa. Willa is the best friend of Summer from the first book, and Cade is the brother of Summer's man in the first book as well. I love their chemistry. I love their sassy, bratty banter. I love the way that he talks to her. The front porch scene, what he said, I can't say it. I can't say it out loud, but what he tells her on the front porch when she comes home that night, jaw on the freaking floor. I'm pretty sure I had to sit up finishing the rest of that chapter because oh my god, so freaking good. It is like a nanny trope and I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, but basically Willa moves in to help the single dad, Cade Eaton, which somebody, I'm just gonna put her review on the screen because I screenshotted her review. It was my favorite thing I've ever seen. Everything I'm thinking about this book, she said perfectly. But Willa moves in to help the single dad, Cade Eaton, take care of Luke. It's an age gap romance, it's a nanny romance, it's a cowboy country romance, but Willa is like she is just a firework. Elsie Silver really brought Willa to life and I just love the character that she created. She felt so real, she felt so fun and festive and full of life and just a bundle of electricity like nothing before. Like Summer and Rhett were really not for me. This was amazing. I loved it so much. Whiplash, because the third book in the series is Powerless, and I also read this month, and this one was not for me. It was fine, but honestly, I just don't think I'm here for the plot. So this one follows the cousin of the Eaton boys. It's their deceased mother's sister's daughter who spent all of her summers growing up on the ranch with them, and she's always had a crush on one of the like friends that's basically like a brother. So they're not really cousins, but they have some weird joke about the cousin situation here. That's not why I didn't like it. I didn't like it because this, if you can tell from the cover, is a hockey romance. Hockey romances are just not for me. I'm from Minnesota and everyone here grew up playing hockey, so when I see a hockey boy, like, I'm in fight or flight. Like, that's not what I'm here for. Yeah, I don't know. There was nothing about this plot that really like struck me where I was like, oh, I'm here for it. If you like hockey romances though, like, I'm sure you'll love it. It's a childhood friends to lovers, city girl. Yeah, that's all I can say about this one. Not her best, her best. Literally. Now for the 3 books that I am still currently reading in October. I am halfway through the 4th book in the Chestnut Springs series, Reckless. This might be tied at first place with Heartless. I don't know, maybe it's like a close second. I really like this so far. This one follows Summer's sister, Winter, and a bull rider who's not related to the Eaton boys, but like works with them, sort of, like rides bulls. So he's around, but he's not in the family tree. And it's like enemies. Like they have such flirty enemy banter. Like they hate each other. There's so much good like enemy chemistry here. Underneath that, there's like so much undeniable attraction. Maybe this is a really common takeaway from this book, and I'm still reading it. Like, I still have half of the book left. It feels like a 90s movie, and I can't even tell you why, because that's the plot. But there's something in this plot that I feel like I've seen a lot in like older comfort movies, and it's good. It's, ooh, I'm so glad I remembered to talk about this though. The one thing that this book has that I do not like is like miscommunication, and that is a really heavy part of the start of this plot, and I get why it has to be there, but it drives me crazy that they don't know something I know. You just want to tell them. Like, it's really frustrating when the message isn't getting delivered the way that it should be, and there's nothing you can do about it but watch the chaos unfold. So it's really sad. This book does tug at my heartstrings a little bit. There's just some unforgivable things that you cannot replace or take back that happen that just like hurt, but it's good. It's so freaking good. I want to finish this one today. I probably won't have any time though because it's snowing. It's like 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm currently waiting for my couch to get delivered, and then if I have time, I'm getting some tattoos today. It's Halloween. I want some tattoos. We're doing a ghost trolley ride on the Minnesota trolley tonight. I wasn't expecting it to snow today, but I wanted to do something fun for Halloween, so I got us tickets for the candlelit ghost trolley tour. I'm so scared, but hopefully I can squeeze in some tattoos before then. So I probably won't even have time to read. I chose to film this over reading instead, but love it so much. If you are going to read the Chestnut Springs series, do not stop after the first book. Honestly, I wish you could scratch the first book altogether, but I feel like you need it for like the layout and the family tree. It gets so much better. Heartless and Reckless. You cannot stop until you've read these two books. I still have one book left in this series, and then I'm moving on to the Gold Rush Ranch series, and I have Wild Eyes from the Rose Hill series as well. She's just like busting out these books one after the other, thank God. Okay, the two other books that I've started, I don't know if they technically even count because I'm only like a chapter. I'm 17 pages into one of them, and I am 18 pages into the other one. I really thought I could squeeze this in before Halloween, and it's Halloween. October's over. The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic. Right away though, I love this book. I am only one chapter in. Like, I'm literally on chapter 2, and it's so well done. The writing is not like anything I expected. I can tell right away that she is such a great writer. Obviously, they're all great writers, they're published authors, but her style of writing I feel like is the most similar to mine. She's so descriptive. I feel like you can tell that she has taken so many writing classes and has gone through the ringer. She's a very descriptive writer, like I said, and I appreciate that because her sentences are strung together so eloquently. I just love it. I wish I highlighted some stuff in here. Every single sentence just rolls right off the tongue in the best way. I don't really know exactly what this book is going to be about quite yet because I'm only a chapter in, but so far I know that the main protagonist has some sort of like curse on her where if she gets her heart broken, she like loses her magic, and she's this magical baker right now. There's a lot of like superstition talk in here too, which I love. Every little thing that they do that's witchy, I love reading that. So yeah, I do really want to read this. I fell deep into the Wishing Well Ranch, which is the name of the ranch in the Chestnut Springs series. So I've just been in the Chestnut Springs series and not in the spooky books. I'm still gonna read this in November though, because I really like the writing. It's not as fluffy as this one. Like, if you want a fluffy, easy book, read the Ex Hex. If you want something with a bit more like substance and structure and writing eloquency, but is still fun and in the October spooky season, read this book. And that is bold of me to say 17 pages in, but already I can just tell it's gonna be so good. And the last book that I'm still reading is the current book club book for my new book club. It is In the Woods by Tana French. The only reason that I'm only 18 pages in is because I'm waiting for my friend in the book club to catch up. I don't want to get too far ahead of her because we like to kind of talk about it as we read, and she's just had a lot on her plate these last couple of weeks, but we'll read it. It's dense, but I know it's going to be good. It's won so many awards, and this is her debut from 2008, and people still talk about it, so I know that it's talked about for a reason. I'm excited to get into it. So far, what I know is kids went missing in the woods. One kid came out kind of bloody, doesn't know what happened, and now that kid is on the detective force as an adult, and I'm sure we'll find out what really happened in the woods. It's gonna be good. But those are the 11 books that I read, finished reading, or started reading this month of October. Definitely let me know your thoughts on these, which ones you've read or would recommend. I would love to hear what you read this month or what you are currently reading to add to my never-ending TBR list, but I definitely fell in love with the Eaton brothers in the Chestnut Springs series this month, and I think Reckless Girls and Heartless takes the cake for my 2 5-star reads of the month. Those two were definitely my favorite. Reckless would also be a favorite. I'm just not finished with it yet. And my least favorite of the month, it might have been the Ex Hex. It was fun in the moment, but now that I'm done with it, you know, that high is over, you're like, oh, was it really as good? No, Powerless. It was definitely Powerless. I did not like Powerless at all. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely leave some books down below that you read this month as well, or what your thoughts are on these books. I cannot wait to share my November TBR with you, as well as the books that I purchased in October. That haul will be up soon as well, but not bad at all for a reading month. Okay, it is almost 2 p.m. I have so much to do today. I'm so excited. I'm actually doing some things this year for Halloween, so I'll try to include some clips of that this evening, getting it tattooed and going on the ghost tour. Terrifying. But I'll see you here in a new video soon. Bye!